In this, our second series, we welcome members of the Movement for Health Coalition to showcase the work achieved by Scotland's charity sector, supporting people with long-term health conditions to move, celebrate their movement, and evidence the need for more investment.
Hello and welcome to today's podcast, Movement in Conversation. We are joined today by Stuart Brown, Deputy Head of Prevention Services at Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland. Hello, Stuart.
Hello, how are we doing?
Hello, good. Thanks for coming along. In this series 2 of the Movement for Health podcast, Movement in Conversations, we are highlighting the work of our member organisations, the work that supports more people to move in accessible, safe and enjoyable ways across Scotland, specifically people living with health conditions. And no one better to talk to today on this slightly blustery, very early spring day than Stuart. Stuart's been with the Coalition since its inception and has been a key and integral part of its growth and evolution. So really pleased to speak to you today, Stuart, and reflect more on the work within Chest, Heart and Stroke specifically. But if you could start us off, Stuart, by introducing the organisation, so our listeners get to know Chest, Heart and Stroke a little bit more, and the work across the organisation, which is vast.
Sure, thanks Emma, and thanks for having me on today. Yeah, I guess Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland, we're a bit of a does what it says in the tin organisation. We work with people living with chest, heart and stroke conditions, but I guess crucially for me, we open our doors to really anyone who wants to make kind of an improvement to their life. And that's where that kind of primary prevention piece comes in as well. The charity has a long history, well over 100 years, and we're now at a place where we're in the kind of the second iteration of our No Life Half Lived strategy, which is all based around self-management and a community recovery models. So we're very much about supporting people, how they want to be supported. And then also we are working with a number of other organisations to spread our reach, get to more people, and hopefully have a positive impact on people's lives.
Lovely. What does that look like? So I'm wondering when you're saying supporting people how they want to be supported, and obviously you're very much within the prevention services side of things within the organisation. So let's sort of deep dive into that a bit more and what that can look like. It'll be different for everyone, as most services are in our sector delivered with that person-centred approach to it. So what could that look like for someone? What support is out there for them?
So we have a range of services available through our kind of community healthcare support service model. And within that, we have our advice line team, who are a whole range of skills, and they can offer people that kind of telephone support, but also virtual support, like we are doing now over Teams or whatever it might be. We also have stroke nurses. We have community support teams who are out supporting people one-to-one or in small groups. We offer a supported self-management 6-week course, which is the Stanford model. So again, evidence-based, supporting people with really what matters to them, but through a bit of a framework. And then where my team kind of comes in, we have physical activity team, we have our health defence team, which is all around working in areas where health inequalities are still stark, and we work directly with those communities through our community development team, and then our health defence team to really support people with those kind of lifestyle changes. And they might be really, really small to start off with, but it's how those small changes can lead to potentially something that can be really life-changing for people. And as I said in the introduction, for us, we're in a slightly unique position within the charity. So we work with people with chest, heart and stroke conditions, but we also support people who maybe have other conditions, who might be at risk of developing one of our conditions. So I always say that we're very fortunate because we get to speak to everyone really, and that's a nice place to be.
We'll come to the prevention discussion in a minute because I'm really intrigued, and that's for a lot of our organisations actually something you're quite unique in terms of the approach that you're taking. But before we come on to that, so I'm wondering about the people that are living with chest, heart and stroke conditions. If they've had that event in their life or that long-term events in their lives, that how have they come to you? Is this through the triage in hospital, that you have a relationship obviously with the nurses and with the other gatekeepers, and is that how they find you and your services mostly?
Great question, and to be honest, we have a number of different ways that people can access our services. So we do have some referrals that will come through directly from hospital settings, particularly where we have our stroke nurse teams. We have a lot of healthcare professionals will refer to us via the website. That's picked up through our advice line and then directed on to the most appropriate team. Again, so if that individual says, I really want to work on walking, for example, then that's where the advice line team would direct them to the appropriate colleague, and then we'd look to be able to support them as best we can. So yeah, I guess that's one way in, but people can also self-refer in as well. So that's still really important. A lot of people don't know who we are. A lot of people don't know of the support that charities, and I mean that right across the board, what charities can offer. I think there's still a little bit of work to be done in terms of actually making everyone aware of all the amazing work that goes on right across the sector. We still receive a number of self-referrals, and again, they will come through our portal online, or they might be referred by a family member. So yeah, lots of different ways for people to access us. And of course, people can just phone the advice line direct as well, and that can start the process too.
And in terms of the physical activity program within Chest, Heart and Stroke, I know that you have a lead of the program, and there are lots of different offshoots of what that looks like. So could you just sort of talk us through the physical activity framework, if you like, within the organisation?
Yeah. Our physical activity program has really developed a huge amount over the last few years. We've kind of gone from a very, very small team to a slightly bigger team, but still a small team. And within that, we have our physical activity lead, and he looks after our kind of two main programs, I guess, which are core, which is our Movement Matters program, which is just about to go through a really exciting change, which I'll maybe come on to. And we also have our Walking for Health program as well, in partnership with Pass for All. And I guess one of the main successes of that has been not just that we have a coordinator in post to offer more walking groups and opportunities, but we've managed to embed that really as part of our community support offer as well. So people living with our conditions can access that kind of one-to-one support, or small groups as well, which is sometimes what they need, after an event, to then be able to progress and move on and ultimately get to that point where they can self-manage.
What does your Walking for Health program look like? Because it's quite broad now.
It is quite broad
geographically.
Yeah. So we have a national program, and it's essentially been kind of split up into three areas, Emma. So we have our community support offering, which is the one-to-one, and the group support, which is run right across the country wherever we have our community support teams. We have partnership walks, so we work with other organisations to be able to deliver walks. So rather than reinventing wheels, we'll try and just set something up with a local partner if they're looking at doing something similar. And then we also have walks from our retail spaces and also from some of our peer groups as well. So we have around 100 don't quote me on this, but 110-ish peer groups across the country. From Wick to the Borders. So huge spread, and we offer training and support for them to get their own walk started. Again, it's another opportunity for them to get together, another opportunity to be more active and hopefully live that healthier life.
And what do people get from the walks? What are they enjoying most? What do they come back and say is the best bits, do you think?
There's so many different elements to it. I think what probably comes back time and time again is the social connection piece. It's a great opportunity, particularly those I find who maybe have had a stroke. It's a great opportunity for them to get out, do that little bit of rehab, out and about, but also have a conversation. And it might be that they're actually practicing their communication skills. If they're living with aphasia on the back of a stroke or their stroke. We've had some incredible stories. We've had one individual who her goal was to become a walk leader, but she was worried that aphasia was going to kind of stand in her way. So what we decided to do was we offered her a one-to-one training session. We kind of took her through it. She's now been leading a walk in South Glasgow for a long time now and is doing a wonderful job at it as well. So that's where the real power is of the walking, because it's something that generally most people want to get back to doing, or they want to start doing a bit more of it, because it gives you the social, it gives you the physical, and also good for everyone's emotions as well.
Yeah, I think I think walking is for most or for many, a really obtainable goal. When we're talking about moving for someone living with long-term health conditions, some will be quite chronic and quite limiting potentially in terms of its movement. But I always think walking is potentially a realistic goal and a tangible goal for people that can be such a lifeline for getting their lives back.
Yeah.
Following an event
Absolutely.
such as a stroke. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. She sounds amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Movement matters. I agree. First of all, I'd like to say I agree. Movement does matter. What does movement matters entail?
Yeah, we were going to call it Movement for Health, but somebody stole the one. Movement Matters has kind of evolved over the last few years. Way back in 2020, there was this wee thing called COVID, which came along. A lot of our services had to adapt pretty quick. And like many organizations, we started to offer some online services. And at that time, we were actually just at the very start of offering a physical activity program.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of grown now. We're up to kind of a team of 2 specialists plus our lead, Fergus. And really, we're now at the point where we're really looking to offer a pretty robust kind of physical activity referral scheme where we can work with people, post-event, post their kind of NHS rehab, kind of taking them into that tier 2 physical activity referral standards, where we've definitely had feedback from service users and also our colleagues who are offering that rehab or that initial rehab, that there's a little bit of a gap there for some people, in that they're just not quite ready to progress into something at communities. So we see a huge opportunity there for us. We're never going to fill the void, but we can make a dent in it and we can start to offer something. So Fergus is working on at the moment with some of our colleagues in stroke, pulmonary rehab and cardiac rehab to be able to offer something there. We'll also have an offer which will be a little bit more kind of generic, aimed at getting people, a bit more active, strength and balance type ideas. And then, longer term as well, we would hope that we can kind of expand that and grow the program across the country, because obviously we're fairly limited at the moment, but we hope that won't be forever.
So it's that sort of piloting it at a certain level or in a certain area first, and then scaling, looking at the scalability.
Absolutely. So we're looking at 2 or 3 health boards at the moment that we've had good relationships in, and we'll hopefully be working directly with those referrers, so that actually what's happening is there's just a kind of constant stream. Everybody will be getting their monitoring form at the start, and then at the end of the 12-week program, which is a bit of a shift for us.
Okay.
Historically tended to just keep people involved for as long as they really want, which quite often is a long time. And what we're saying is, we recognize that there's a huge value in that. At the same time, if we're going to meet more people, reach more people, then we need to have an opportunity for people to move through as well and progress. And that might be then connecting in with like a local leisure trust. It might be connecting with another organization, or it could even be passing those individuals on to some of those peer groups across the country who are doing fantastic work.
It has to be sustainable for it to work for the organisation. And as you say, I mean, there seems to be lots of other avenues as well that people can remain, part of the chest, heart and stroke community, but not necessarily having to have the same supports in place.
Absolutely.
For them as individuals throughout for a no end date in sight sort of thing. Yeah, that's really exciting.
Really exciting, yeah.
What sort of timescales are you looking at? Just put pressure on you now. Commitments.
No pressure, but you are going to take a date from me.
Yeah, I'm going to write it down.
So we are hoping to have our first pilot up and running by May this year.
Lovely.
And then, as I say, we'll be looking to get 2 or 3 of those done this year, get all that feedback collated, make sure that we're on to a winner, and then it'll be a case of ramping it up where possible.
Excellent. Because that won't be for everyone either. So that's another more, I was going to say detailed intervention, but it's just seems more to it than some of the other work that people could be involved with to support their symptoms and their experiences. That's very exciting. I look forward to hearing more we'll have to do another podcast
Yes.
in however long, see how that's going. Okay, so that's Movement Matters. Can I ask about prevention then? Something I'm very excited about. Movement for Health, as Stuart knows, we talk about the need for more investment, more resource, more conversations about prevention and how to support prevention programs and what new ones need to be in place. And chest, heart and stroke, I think, have probably gone beyond what many organisations have gone in terms of the investment in prevention. Most organisations historically that are like yourselves are condition focused and therefore support the people that have been impacted by that condition and their network to support their family, etc. But actually there's a whole other tranche of that what could happen before, what could happen to potentially prevent that from ever happening in the first place, or from making it less impactful than it then appears to be with individuals. So I'm very excited about prevention programs. Tell us, Stuart, about yours.
Yeah, prevention, I guess, is one of my real passions, something that is now kind of a part of our model. I touched on at the start. So as you say, Emma, a lot of organisations support that kind of post-diagnostic a time in people's lives, and we still do that. We kind of follow that acute diagnosis through to then supporting people in the community at home, and then ideally we want to kind of grow that chain of support, get people involved, and as you say, kind of hold them into the organisation, whether that's they become a volunteer, do they become a fundraiser, do they even just become somebody who shouts about what we're doing. But right at the top of that page now, there's prehab and prevention. And that's really exciting for it to be called out, within our strategy. What does it look like? There's, I guess, a few strands to it. One of them is that physical activity piece, although I would say physical activity does kind of weave its way right through. But obviously, if we can have more people being active, it's called the miracle drug for a reason. It can make a significant difference to people's lives and hopefully play its part in preventing our conditions. What we also do, though, is we have a program called Health Defence, which has been running for quite a few years now. We have a couple of hubs across the country, one in Glasgow and one in Dundee. And we're very excited to be rolling out another 3 this year, Grampian, Ayrshire and Arran, and another to follow, which is, again, really exciting. And these teams are working in the heart of communities where there is the most need, where there's, high levels of people living with our conditions currently. So if we can work with those areas, work with those communities, build a program that includes education, awareness, offering them just simple things like a blood pressure check. They can come and get their cholesterol checked. They can come in and even just have a conversation if they've got any concerns. And our team, our amazing Health Defence team led by Kevin and Miller, just do a phenomenal job because they don't know who's going to come through the door on a day-to-day basis, and they can have conversations wide and ranging.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you can imagine, what's most amazing about this program is that it is really about the people. And there's a conversation that's had almost at every single time that someone comes in for that, that ends up with them going, okay, I've taken something away today. It might be a little nugget, but we can support them for, as long as they need support. That might be 6 months, that might be a year. It might be that they come in once. But the team are there, to provide that knowledge, provide them with a little bit of guidance on how they can do simple things that can actually go to make a big difference in their lives.
How do people access it then in that community? So you've got 3 more coming this year, and is it drop-in? Is it referrals? What is it for people?
We have again a range of options. We want to be as accessible as possible. That's one of the things that kind of came out of the community development work before we before we actually had boots on the ground. We always do about 6 to 12 months of work in the area to understand the needs. And people can refer either by dropping in, they can self-refer online, they can refer through our portal, and sometimes we will get internal referrals as well. So a whole range of different ways for people to come over. But again, us having that base in the community is really key there, because it gives us a home, it gives us somewhere that people kind of see. But then we also take the project out. So we've got a hub and spoke model where we can take the project out to community groups. So for example, we've been doing work in Tayside recently with the Gypsy Traveller community. We've done work in Glasgow previously with the local mosque, local women's groups. So I think that flexibility is what makes this project really unique and what makes it probably work particularly well.
How does it link up with other things in the area? So I'm thinking about other programs like mental health services or other things that are going on, and people's link workers and GPs, and what does that look like? How is that tapped into?
Yeah, again, like that's really fundamental to this being a success, is having those networks locally. So a good example, like in Drumchapel, where Health Defence first started, there's an ongoing relationship still with the community links workers in that from the practice there, and we've delivered a joint walk for probably 5 years now with the links workers in terms of local mental health groups, drug and alcohol groups. We connect in with them. We work with DWP. Having a whole range of contacts within that kind of locale is really, really important. One, because we don't want to tread on toes, but also because we can't have the answer to everything and we can't be the solution to everything, but we can if we know where to point people in the right direction. And probably the other thing I would add to that is it's what makes our venues quite unique. So our venue in Glasgow, and we're actually just about to move to the Maryhill Borough Halls. So that's right in the heart of Maryhill. We were in the Windford Estate previously. We're in a sports centre in Dundee, and we're looking at a shopping centre in Grampian. So again, it's slightly different everywhere we go, but with that kind of common theme of it's somewhere that the public know, somewhere that they recognise. There's existing infrastructure there as well. And like at Dundee, for example, we can tap into, Leisure and Culture Dundee and their programmes really easily because we're based, with them.
That locality is so important. And I think what you've just spoken about there really is a real picture of what partnership organisation looks like and feels like, in terms of knowing that you can't be everything to everyone, not stepping on people's toes, not reinventing wheels, and about that being able to be agile enough as well in terms of, yes, this is our model and this is our framework, but actually the locality over here, this is going to support that better than it has in Tayside, or will do things slightly differently in Grampian. And I love that kind of fluidity. It feels really responsive. Your programs are very responsive to the needs of the people, and it feels like you can have that flexibility within them, which I think is the way the world is now in terms of funding and the life cycle of things. You need to be able to switch and change and respond to the landscape as it goes. That's excellent. Thank you for that. In terms of partnerships, I've said the word partnerships. Are there any other sort of, I don't know, maybe quite high profile partnerships that Chest Township might have in the movement, physical activity landscape? I'm kind of struggling to think of one.
Yeah, let me have a think. Well, we do have one which launched last year, Emma, which might be worth talking about. So yeah, for the last year, we've been working in partnership with the Scottish Football Association.
That's the one.
Specifically around women's football, women's recreational football. And this kind of forms part of our women's health plan, but also obviously our prevention agenda as well. So obviously Scottish Government have a women's health plan. Ours very much aligns to that. And we were looking at ways for us to engage with women where we can have those conversations about women's health, but also have the conversation around just prevention generally. How we can support that best as a charity. So we started a piece of work with the SFA, as I say, a year ago now, and the plan is for us to have 25,000 women playing football by the end of the 4-year partnership through the expansion of their recreational programme right across the country. Things have started really, really well, and we had over 5,000 women sign up in the first 6 months of the partnership. So things got off to a really great start, but in many ways now the hard work starts. To maintain that and to keep it growing. And it's been such an exciting project for us to be involved with, and it's probably our first foray into this space in terms of prevention and women's health on that level anyway, and looking at how we engage with, generally, I guess, like a slightly younger demographic than we maybe would otherwise. But what was amazing to see at the launch was actually there was such an age range of people there. So yeah, I learned something immediately that actually this could be something that really does work for people from the age of 18 right through till they can play into their 70s, maybe even their 80s and beyond.
And what does that look like? So when these people are signing up, these women are signing up, what are they signing up to?
Great question. So we have 12 recreational what are called our recreational hubs or centres across the country. So they're the kind of CHSS hubs in the local region. A lot of the clubs will offer a recreational session. They can sign up for them via our website, via the SFA website as well. And what they're getting involved with is usually a weekly session where they can come along, meet other women who are there to kick a ball around, have some fun. There's not a competitive element to it. I think that always creeps in, but it really, the focus isn't about competition. The focus isn't about training and then a match at the weekend. It is really about that kind of social, let's get together, let's have a blether and get out. And it's been such a lovely thing to see. We also run a series of festivals, which kind of brings the local clubs together within a region, and those festivals delivered by the local SFA teams as well have just been fantastic. Great way for everyone to get together, and again, there's always a little bit of competitive edge, even though it's very much recreational focused.
I'm sure people can get what they want out of it in terms of that level of competition. I wondered about, all of this is wonderful, but it doesn't just come easy. I'm just wondering what something that I've kind of tried to highlight with the organisations, our member orgs that we're talking to in this series, is some of the work we touched on with our mapping exercise around what are the challenges, what are there barriers, is there stuff that you've wanted to do but couldn't, and why. So I just wondered if there was anything you wanted to highlight within that Chest, Heart and Stroke have been keen to develop, or there's something that's holding it back, or we know funding's a big one. Yeah,
I mean, funding is always going to be a big one. I think the nature of funding as well, where even if you can get the funds to get something started, there's not always the funds to keep that going for the length of time that really we need for things to embed and be a part of kind of, I guess, people's local society and what they do. That's on there because been running for X number of years. So yeah, there's a whole range of different things. I'd probably say one of the most challenging things from our perspective has been that shift from a charity that has focused previously on that post-diagnostic support. Is it our place to try and prevent these conditions as well? Essentially, I joke that I'm trying to put my colleagues out of a job, right? But the reality is, figures aren't getting better in this country, and I think it's getting that shift from seeing things that we do as a cost into an investment. And I know that, my chief exec was along at the conference last year doing a presentation around this, and we're starting to get some really rich data which can highlight the impact that this can have. And I think sometimes as well, particularly with prevention, it's not a silver bullet. It's just part of what we can do to hopefully all live slightly healthier lives. And that includes, being more active. That includes having more social opportunities. That includes having safe spaces where you feel like you can have a blether. So like one of our other partnerships is with Walking Football. And a lot of the Walking Football is about that emotional support. They can lean on each other. They can support each other. They can get out and maybe not annoy their partners for an hour a week. So there's loads of different reasons of, I guess, why it's important that we continue to chip away at making that little bit of change to promote what we do as an organisation, but through a slightly different prism of prevention and the potential that has to really make a difference to people.
I think the more that we can learn about how to talk about prevention so that it is seen as an investment and not a nice to do or a cost, the more people we can win over or bring with us, I guess. I think prevention is long-term investment.
Yeah.
And telling the story of the success of prevention is tricky to do within sort of, I think, political timescales as well. So it's about bringing that piece together. So that's Jane Claire Judson, your chief executive, spoke at the Movement for Health conference last summer very eloquently about the move to prevention. And I think everyone in that room, it's not a hard room to talk to in terms of prevention for sure, but we're convinced by the end of it that this is absolutely the direction of travel that we need to be going in. And it's so wonderful to see a leader of such a large organisation in Scotland in the charity sector put forward that and make that a priority, and visually make that a priority as well, because that's different. That shift and being very visible. It's brave, but it's needed. It's absolutely needed. And I think that leadership is a real key point to its success as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if we didn't have that, I wouldn't be having a conversation with you right now. So you have to have leadership who are in a place where they know that it's going to be maybe a risk, but actually it's the right thing to do, because the systems that we have right now are failing us a little bit. And that's not through the fault of anyone out there. Everyone's just doing the best they can. But the reality is there needs to be almost that sea change of how we approach what we're doing around health.
Well, Stuart, it's lovely to talk to you as always. And every time we talk, you're doing a hell of a lot more than I remembered you doing the last time we spoke. Slow down. I look forward to... I look forward to hearing all about the new health defence hubs and new areas. That sounds really exciting. Is there anything else we can look out for this year? You've got the Movement Matters programs, so we'll keep people up to date on those, because I think there'll be lots of really good learning coming out from that, and the football partnership as well.
With the stuff going on, we're doing some great work with Scottish Disability Sport around boccia, which has been fantastic as well. And then in the wider sense as well, the supported self-management 6-week program is really taken off. The feedback that we've had and the data coming through, again, is really, really strong. So watch this space as well, because it's a really exciting piece of work.
Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you for your time today. And Stuart, just thank you for all the time that you've given to the Movement for Health Coalition since its inception over the last 5 and a bit years. It's been a real privilege to see the work of Chest, Heart and Stroke Scotland grow in that time, as well as the work of the coalition. And it's just been really great to see that and understand it and understand the impact that it's having. A large part of that is down to the work of yourself and your team and all the work that you're putting into it. So it's greatly appreciated across the sector. And thanks for today.
No, thanks very much, Emma. And likewise, it's been a pleasure to be a part of.
Thanks everyone for listening to Stuart and I chat through the Chest, Heart and Stroke offering in today's Movement in Conversations podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, take a listen to the other episodes in this series to learn what our other member organisations are doing to support more people living with health conditions to move more in fun, safe and accessible ways. Thank you and bye-bye for now.
Can expect the continuation of areas that we've been doing, because we continue to see the importance of working in partnership. We're going to continue to do more of that. We are also we'll be doing some further research and looking at and young people, young women, in relation to mental health and physical activity, active lives, and the menstrual cycle, because we know the barriers that are there, and we're going to be doing that in partnership. That will be done over the next year, and again, it will just add to that other life stage part, which is really exciting. You'll see more and more collaboration work as we continue to. We see the value of it. We're really lucky to have some amazing partners out there that we work in Movement for Health Coalition. There's some fantastic organisations that are really playing their part there. We want to continue to play our part and share knowledge, share learning, work together. So you'll see more of that. I spoke about Orkney. we are continuing to look at that whole island approach and work with some amazing organisations up there and amazing individuals. Actually, at a meeting today that's going to focus more on that. So we're going to be doing that leading up to the Island Games and beyond. So that's going to building on the fantastic work and experience of the World Athletics Indoor Championships, working with volunteers. So we want to see more of that happening across our communities, and we want to see more capacity building. We want to continue to raise the importance of active lives across our health. But actually, we will soon be launching our direction of travel as an organisation. So watch this space, watch this month, because there's a teaser that will give you a real sense of where some of our focus is going to be as an organisation going forward, building on the really good stuff that's already happened. So more of that, and there's just lots of different areas that we continue to focus on. I would also say that I spoke about earlier, we are still going to really target where the greatest need is. And we're a big area is definitely about reducing those barriers and about the inequalities that we're seeing across communities. So that whole approach to local people, local communities is going to be a key element of what we do. And I'm excited because we've also going to be doing some work again with Camanachd Association, so Shinty and the sports hubs that are up in Lochaber and Skye, and doing some work up there around young people's mental health and the power of physical activity in that space. So there's a few.
Fantastic. Well, you'll be busy. You'll be busy. And I can't wait to potentially see you play Shinty, Robert. Looking forward to that.
I've already tried that, and
excellent.
It was fantastic. There's such a sense of community across that those generations is just fabulous. But I would be amiss. Listen, one of the things that I love more than anything is the team that I've got. And I've got an amazing team here who work really hard, who are out there being really visible, connecting with people. So you're going to see more of that team out there and the talent that they have. So I'd be really miss if I was to not recognise or see the fantastic stuff that they do.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you to you and your team who are working so hard in this space. And thank you for your continued support for the Movement for Health work, the coalition and the work programme. SAMH is such a valued asset to Scotland's landscape and our sector. So thank you to you and your colleagues.
It's really nice to hear. Again, we're very passionate about what we do. I've worked for SAMH for over 28 years now, and one of the reasons that I continue to be with SAMH is because of that continued commitment and the wonderful people that are doing great work that's making a real difference in individuals' lives.
Great. Well, thank you, Robert, and thank you for listening to today's podcast with Robert Nesbitt from SAMH, Scottish Action for Mental Health. We are very lucky to have you. And as we've mentioned quite a few programmes and things on today's episodes, we'll make sure to put the links in the blurb that accompanies the episode on our channels. So thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed listening to Robert from SAMH today, please make sure you tune in and listen to our other member conversations so you can hear how our member organisations are supporting more people living with long-term health conditions in Scotland to move in fun, accessible, safe ways. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take care.